Good evening, everyone. It is 5 o'clock, and I am now calling this meeting to order. I will establish a quorum. We have Dr. Joe Tidwell, Garrett Wilson, Carlin Fryer, myself, Donna Sharp, Richard Senna, Jessica Davila Burnett, and Maritza Gonzalez Cooper. It is now 5:01, and we will be going into closed session to discuss private consultation with the board's attorney regarding pending litigation, personnel, pursuant to Texas Government Code, deliberation regarding matters related to employment, appointments, resignation, terminations, retirements, and reassignments. Also discussing purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. It's still 5:01. We'll be going into a closed session. Thank you. Playing with me. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:32. We are coming out of closed session and going into open session. And if everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Colors. All. Present. Arms. Order. Arms. Colors. Post. Colors turn. Arch.
Okay, everybody, before we move forward, I just want to welcome our newest board trustee, Garrett Wilson, to the team. And we also want to appreciate the outstanding community members that applied for the open positions. And thanks to the board, we worked really hard to look at all of those. And thanks to everyone for sharing us their information. And so at this moment in time, do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion passes 7-0. Mr. Benway, are you ready to announce tonight's commendations?
Yes, Madam President, I am. If we could have the Board of Trustees and Dr. Price come down to the front to honor our commendees tonight. This is my favorite part of the board meeting because we get to honor our outstanding student and staff. So our first commendation, if we could have up, we've had them all here before, but they had such a fantastic year. Please welcome the Boerne High School Athletic Department. The Greyhounds won the 2021 Dan Cook Cup as the best overall high school sports program in the greater San Antonio area. The Greyhound teams excelled last season, with the boys soccer team winning the state championship, the tennis team earning a silver medal at state, the boys and girls basketball teams advancing to the Final Four, among many others. We have with us tonight Boerne ISD Athletic Director, Coach Stan Leach, who needs no introduction, but I just introduced him anyway. Coach Stan Leach, who is a fantastic role model. We also have head football coach and athletic coordinator, Coach Hendricks is here tonight. Boys soccer coach, Michael Strong. Boys and girls basketball coaches, Kimball McCone and Amy Reedy. And head tennis coach, Jody Koth. Let's have a huge round of applause to the Greyhound Athletic Department. And if we could have our photo with our first commendation, please, with our board members. Congratulations, go Greyhounds! Thank you for coming. Our next commendation are champion track and field athletes, Chachi Gonzalez and Brock Lewis. Let's give them a round of applause. Both Chachi and Brock earned gold medals at the AAU Junior Olympics Track and Field Championships earlier this month. Chachi set a national record and placed first in the 1,500-meter race. Brock Lewis, who's just a sophomore, won the national championship in the decathlon with a total of 6,767 points. We are extremely proud, one more time, for our champion track and field athletes, Brock Lewis and Chachi Gonzalez. And if you're here for these young, fine folks, if you're their family, please stand up or raise your hands. We want to make sure that we recognize you all as well for your support. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Congratulations. Go Chargers. Keep up the great work. Speaking of the Chargers, our next commendation are the state champion high school swim team 200 freestyle relay. Let's give them a hand. You shake all the board members' hands and you go around, please. The relay team of Paige Clark, Reagan Garcia, Tess Ziemba, and Peyton Bramer won the state championship, setting a new school record. Their time has earned them the recognition of an All-American relay by the National Interscholastic Swim Coaches Association. This is a prestigious award. It means they are a top 100 time in the nation for that specific event. Let's give a huge round of applause to our state champion relay team. And their coaches, Coach Escalante and Coach Gillette as well. And if you are here for these young ladies, would you please stand or raise your hands? We want to make sure we thank you all for coming. These are our supporters. Thank you very much. Go Chargers. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Our next commendation, you may have heard her name from BISD before, is Judge Michelle Van Stavern. Please come on up, Judge Van Stavern. Judge Van Stavern, when she was the SRO at Bernie Middle School North, she was named the 2021 Texas Association of School Resource Officers SRO of the Year. That's a statewide award. Judge Van Stavern served as the SRO at Bernie Middle School North for 3 years prior to being named Kendall County Justice of the Peace Precinct 1. We appreciate your service. Let's give a big round of applause to Judge Van Stavern. Congratulations, Judge. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. Good to see you again, too, here in our building. We appreciate it. Our next commendation is Bernie ISD Transportation Department Fleet Technician Isaac Sanchez. Let's give Isaac a big round of applause. Isaac placed 4th in the entire state in the Texas Association of School Bus Technicians Texas Best School Bus Inspector competition. Each year, they hold the Texas Best competition in the form of a skills challenge for technicians and inspectors in the school bus industry. Participants demonstrated their technical skills and knowledge as they rotated through written exams administered by industry experts and hands-on stations. And Mr. Sanchez placed 4th in the entire state. Big round of applause for Mr. Sanchez. Congratulations. Congratulations, sir. Thank you very much for your service. Thanks for coming. Our next 2 commendations are Champion High School. They are an integral part of the Champion Social Studies Department and have each earned the prestigious James Madison Fellowship, which we'll talk about more in a second. First up, we'd like to honor Champion Social Studies teacher Michael Gillette. He was just up here with the swim team. Come back up, sir. Michael earned the 2021 Outstanding Teaching of the Humanities Award from Humanities in Texas. This is a statewide award. This award recognizes exemplary contributions of humanities teachers in Texas elementary, middle, and high schools. He was also the 2016 Bernie ISD District Teacher of the Year, and the medal he's wearing, he's a 2019 James Madison Fellow, which is a very prestigious award. Congratulations to Mr. Gillette, and thank you for all that you do. And if you could stay up real quick, Mr. Gillette, we want to get a picture with you and our next commendation also. So just hang up here for a second for us. Our next commendation is Champion History teacher Kim Grossenbacher, who was named the 2021 Association of Texas Professional Educators Secondary Teacher of the Year. That's a statewide award. Just like Mr. Gillette, she was also a James Madison Fellow in 2015. She has won numerous teaching awards and previously was named the Social Studies Teacher of the Year by the Legal Digest. And now for both of these 2 fine folks, the goal of the James Madison Fellowship is to help secondary level history, government, and civics teachers to become outstanding educators of the U.S. Constitution. And the medals that both Kim and Michael are wearing signify the James Madison Fellowship. So a big congratulations to Kim, Michael, and them at Champion Social Studies. Congratulations again. And if you all were here for commendations, if you received a commendation, we're going to move on to our next topic. So if you'd like to exit the room after your commendation, now would be a perfect time to do it while we set the stage for our other parts on our agenda. So let's give one big other hand to our great commendations tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Benway, are we ready to see the Bernie Insider?
Yes, ma'am. The Bernie Insider that we're about to see is a combination of two different videos. First, it will be a Cub Camp, which will feature Cibolo Creek's Cub Camp prior to the start of the school year. And then you will see highlights from the first day of school from last Wednesday. We hope you enjoy. With the start of school just weeks away, Cibolo Creek Elementary School held Cub Camp, a jumpstart to learning program designed to engage kindergarten, first, and second grade students. The 2-week program introduces students to campus administration and some of the campus staff, as well as get students familiarized with the school, make new friends, and get them excited before school starts.
Cub Camp is an opportunity for students to come to school. Maybe they're students who were previously homeschooled or they were our e-learners. So this is an opportunity for them to come, build their brains, socialize, learn the layout of the school, familiarize themselves with what it means to be a Cub.
Teachers will enrich the campers with classroom activities, including STEM, which gives them a preview of what the school experience will be like. Students also got a treat when Bernie ISD Superintendent Dr. Thomas Price read a story to them. Students say they are prepared for the new school year.
It is very fun. I'm having fun because of the activities. I think I'm going to be ready when school starts.
When these Cibolo Creek students start school on August 11th, they will have been inspired to learn by attending the Cub Camp program. Thank you for watching this Bernie Insider Short. To learn more about our district, please visit bernieisd.net/The Bernie Insider.
When you're looking at me, I'm the star in your sky. And all that you see, that twinkling light, is for you. You make me shine, shine, shine. 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 You make me shine like the light in your heart, like the tip of a spark. Shine. You make me shine like the edge of a star, like the light in your heart. Shine. Make me shine.
So that was a combination of our Bernie Insider Short and our first day of school highlights. But I have some special guests, Madam President, that I'd like to invite up for the board to ask some questions to. From Cibolo Creek Elementary, we have to invite up our fantastic principal, Mrs. Krista Pomeroy. Please come on down. A great leader at Cibolo Creek. And then we want to bring up here, you saw our two students that did a fantastic job. Please give them a huge welcome for Graham Palmer and Lily Pena. Come on up. Madam President, Board of Trustees, do we have any questions for our young Cibolo Creek students?
let's see. Okay. Graham, did you make any friends at the camp?
Yes.
Did you make a lot of friends? Did you see your friends at school recently, when you went back to school, did you see those same friends there?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, how about you, Lily? Did you make friends?
Yes.
Okay, well, all right, tell me what you learned at camp.
Force and motion.
I did not put them.
How much breath it takes to push a duck with a straw. With force.
Did it take a lot of breath? Just a little bit.
Half.
Okay. Board members, anybody else have some questions for Graham or Lily?
So, what are you most excited about at the start of school?
All the activities. Math.
Oh, I guess one last question. So do you think you're prepared? Were you prepared to start school?
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
All right, great. What do we want to hear? Thank you.
One more hand for our fantastic students and Mrs. Pomeroy. Thank you very much. Madam President, I will turn it over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benway. And principals, I just want to thank you. The board wants to thank each and every one of you and our director of the academy, of course, for beginning such a wonderful school year. I know your team worked really hard. The bus drivers have worked really hard. I know there's a few things that we're going to get to iron out as we go, but it has been a wonderful start of the school year. So thank you all very, very much. All right, do we have any action from our closed session? No discussion, all righty. At this time, we are going to allow for visitor comments. And if you'll give me just a moment, I'm gonna go over the rules that everyone has already read. I'm gonna go over these out loud. Each participant must sign up as you have done. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes to make comments to our board. Overall time limit for all comments will be a total of 30 minutes. The board encourages the public to discuss concerns with an appropriate administrator who has the authority to address any concerns, and they should be addressed as soon as possible to allow early resolution at the lowest possible administrative level. We also want to remember that the board may not discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on our agenda. If an issue mentioned is listed on tonight's agenda, the board will defer discussion of the issue until the appropriate time during the meeting. We also want to make sure that citizens do not address individual personnel concerns or other items that might infringe on the rights and privileges of others. Finally, please be aware that the rules of decorum will be enforced during public comment period and throughout the meeting. Those who choose to engage in such behavior may be asked to leave. Each participant is legally responsible for the content and consequences of his or her own statements. So with that being said, I'd like to ask Ms. Savannah Rust to come up, please.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak tonight. I just wanted to walk through the last couple of weeks with my son who just started kindergarten. He is one of the most secure, outgoing kids that I know, and the last couple of weeks before school, he heard about bullies, and he was just so scared. And so when he came home that first day, and I saw his excitement about being at school, of course I had to ask him, what was your favorite time? And he said, music class. We danced around, we took turns, we had such a great time. And he described it perfectly, how, every activity that they spent there doing. And so when I went home that night and I saw that there were some parents that were maybe a little concerned with what had happened, I just wanted to speak out and say that this kind of inclusiveness and should be celebrated. I'm not sure exactly what I can say as far as personal comments. So I just want my son to go to a school that makes him happy and makes him feel secure and gives him a proper education without the distraction of bullies. Really, that's what I'm seeing. And so I wanted to speak up and, and say that and show my support towards inclusiveness and celebration of every individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russ. The next person that signed up, Justin Anderson, please come up.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I stand here tonight as a concerned parent with few options to protect the health and safety of my children in this current school environment. I'm also coming as a concerned member of the community who feels the need to speak up. BISD was faced with two unique challenges in these first couple weeks of the year. I think how you guys act on this can really help define what kind of community we have moving forward. The first issue is the return to school with no mask mandate or lack of contact tracing. This essentially leaves a parent in my position the option to gamble the health of their children. I understand the importance of being in the class, social interaction, and return to normalcy. Trust me, I want it. But with no approved vaccine for children and virtual learning not an option, the one tool is masking. But for full effectiveness, it takes the community and not an individual decision of each child or family. Second situation, I guess I have to be a little careful here with, has to do with a teacher that may have been removed from a class. We'll leave it at that. I find the situation, I'm sure anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about can find it, could have been a great teaching moment for our kids to learn acceptance, to learn how to deal with someone that's different. Unfortunately, the vocal minority successfully started a bullying campaign, created false narratives to fit their agenda, and that teacher was unfortunately at least removed from the class for the time being. I find it funny that the BISD hears the chants of parents representing intolerance, but can ignore the voices of concerned parents regarding the health of our students, teacher, and staff. I find it funny that the board hears the cries of personal freedom when deciding not to enforce masking, but ignores personal freedom when a teacher is personally attacked. That said, there's still time to make the right decision. You can go back and we can enforce masking. We can make sure every child is safe, and it can lighten your conscience at night knowing you've done everything possible that we know right now with the lack of a vaccine to protect those kids. We can take a look at virtual learning again. Second is to protect your own. Be better than the portion of the community that spoke out against this teacher. Teach children about indifference and acceptance with action. The BISD has a unique position to help shape the future of a changing Bernie, one that embraces individuals of all backgrounds while protecting the most vulnerable in the youth, sick, or elderly. Choosing the wrong path, unfortunately, will leave lasting impacts, both socially and within our public health. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Denise Anderson.
Good evening. My name is Denise Anderson, and my pronouns are she, her. I've come here this evening to congratulate everyone on completing the first week of school, where within 3 days, BISD has managed to put the health and safety of over 10,000 children in our community at risk by not requiring masks for unvaccinated people, but also has participated in the violation of civil and human rights of one of its teachers. I'm sure all of you are aware that a teacher at Kendall Elementary was discriminated against by members of this community and this district last week.
Madam President, it is in violation. It is in violation of District Policy BE Legal and BED Local to identify any employee of the district.
I'm sorry, I didn't say a name.
Campus.
I said a teacher.
Narrowing it to a specific campus.
A teacher within the district.
Identified.
Okay, thank you. It's beyond shameful when faced with the opportunity to be an advocate for social justice and support our community. The district has cowered to a mob of ignorant and intolerant citizens. This is the same district that continues to ignore the recommendations of highly educated health professionals at the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics and refuses to protect our children from a deadly virus. I'm saddened that I live in a community where parents can say, I don't want my child in this person's classroom, not because they're not a good teacher, but because they don't agree with lifestyle choices. And the school takes action, or the school and the district take action, allowing students to be removed from music class and ultimately having a teacher.
Madam President, it is in violation of District Policy BE Legal and BED Local to make any reference to an employee that may identify that employee.
Again, did not use a name and removed the use of the school.
Madam President, that's the second notice.
But here I am, a parent with a real concern of the health and of our children, and I can say I don't want my child in a class because a person is unvaccinated or masks aren't being worn, only to have the district shrug off my concerns. So what message are we sending the youth of Bernie? Instead of embracing diversity and teaching allyship, we are teaching our children that it is not okay to be themselves. Instead of protecting families from the dangers that can impact unvaccinated minors, we're telling them that we don't care if one of them gets gravely ill. So when all of us lay our heads at night and pray to whatever God you believe in that condones this behavior, please ask them for forgiveness. Ask them for forgiveness that you were unable to follow the word of God and love thy neighbor. Ask them for forgiveness because when tasked with keeping our children safe, you have failed. And ask them for forgiveness because you have the opportunity to do the right thing and are choosing not to.
Thank you. Next on the list is Bert Miller.
Thank you for this opportunity. My topic relates to the topic that the first three speakers spoke about, specifically the person that I can't mention. I don't want to get called out, so I'm going to avoid that. But I'm a Bernie resident. I have 4 children that all attended Bernie ISD, and one of my children would be affected by the issue that's been discussed, especially by the last 2. I love Bernie. I love living in Bernie. I love the people in Bernie. But I am not proud right now of what's going on with the situation. And we know the elephant in the room. Y'all all know what I'm talking about. No violation here. But I've got a quote, and we were standing outside and asked to be moved out to the street. And thank you, because we had a lot of people that stopped, gave thumbs up. This is a quote from the Supreme Court of the United States. Discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity is necessarily also discrimination. It's the law, but it's also, as you heard today, you weren't hearing from legal experts, but what's right, what's in your heart, what Bernie's about, a being loving community. And I think this is a great opportunity. It's the same thing, I don't mean to be redundant, for everybody in Bernie, not just the board here. You guys, we appreciate what y'all do and y'all taking care of our children, and we've got a great community. But it's an opportunity to treat our students, our staffs, and our teachers with equality and inclusiveness going forward. And I'll just say this to conclude. I know you can't respond to me, but I can see you're all listening, and y'all listen to other people, and thanks for having this forum. This is great. But what you can do is take this, think about it, get all the facts. Y'all probably don't have all the facts, but go and forward with your actions and your policy after this meeting to be determined to be fair, inclusive, and non-discriminatory for all. When we saw the video of the young children at school, that was beautiful, man. I mean, I've got a 1-year-old son. My son's going to move from San Antonio back out here to Bernie. His child will be going there, my grandson. Beautiful children. But some of those children are going to be in the same boat. They are not going to be white, heterosexual, middle, upper class that predominates Bernie. They may be minorities. They may have different sexual identity. They may love somebody of the same sex. How are we going to treat them? So it's not just today about this one person that I can't mention, but it's about everybody else going forward. It could be about somebody here on the board. You never know, or somebody in the future. So I just ask that you consider that going forward, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Next on the list is Braden. And Braden, I'll need you to come and tell me your first and last name, please.
Hi, I'm Braden Stemberg, and thanks for letting me speak in front of you guys. And I am a 5th grade student at Faber Elementary. I've talked in front of the board before, asking you guys to stop mask mandating, but you guys sadly didn't. But it's a new school year and a new day, and I'm here just to say thank you. Thank you for letting it be my choice, and thank you for letting it be my parents' choice to choose what's right for me. It's something they have done since I was born, so I think they know what they are doing, but most of the time. I think my mom's limits on screen time could go up some. The meeting that I came to, a lot of people talked about, all the kids in the district were there to speak for me. I was a part of all the kids, not just as the same kids. I want to tell you about my classroom this year. Since my moms and dads or whoever kids live with get to choose. In my class, there's one kid who wears a mask. He was in my class last year, so we are friends, and we each sit by each other. He told me how much he hates it, but his mom makes him wear it. So, of all the kids in my class, one is here we go, choosing to listen to his mom, who is the person who knows him best. My mom knows me best, and she doesn't make me wear one. It has been 17 months. I've been on an airplane. I went to an MLB and minor league baseball game. I've even went to Six Flags, which I regret. Turns out I'm afraid of roller coasters. But I didn't. I did that all without a mask. I bet some people wanting masks did the same. I've not been to the doctor in 17 months for anything other than ear stuff because I was grinding my teeth at school and wearing a mask. The doctor said I have anxiety, but I'm pretty sure that I don't since I'm standing here and talking to you guys. I just hate masks, to be honest. But that is me, and I'm different than all kids because God made me that way. After school, I play outside, not because my mom told me the sun is good to keep COVID away, but because I want to be outside instead of being locked up inside. Do other kids go outside? I don't know, but that isn't my choice. That's theirs. The first day of school, before we got there to the gate, my mom told me and my brother something that I should know, that I think I should know. She told us, if anyone is mean to a kid wearing a mask, you should stand up for him. All right. Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Braden. And next on the list, Karina Schwartz. Karina?
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you this evening. Sorry, I lost my notes. My name is Karina Schwartz, and I have 2 children in Bernie School District, and I am speaking to express my concern that BISD is not requiring masks in schools against the guidance of the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics. The Delta variant currently ravaging Texas is twice as infectious as previous strains, including among children. And since children under the age of 12, such as mine, are ineligible to receive the COVID vaccine, public schools are among the most vulnerable environments for viral transmission. Even vaccinated children and teachers can still contract COVID-19, and while they may be provided against getting seriously ill, they can still transmit it to others in their schools or in their households. I urge you to require that all students, teachers, administrators, visitors wear masks at any Bernie ISD school. It's the only way to help keep our children safe as we confront this public health crisis. I went to orientation last week and was just shocked that all of the fantastic and very effective protocols that were put in place last year were gone. There were hundreds of us just jammed into a cafeteria, and I'm, at this point, terrified to leave my children in your care. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, or is there anything you want to discuss or pull out of the agenda? I have a motion to accept the agenda. Do I have a second, the consent agenda?
I'll second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Is there further discussion? Maritza? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I have 2 seconds. I have a motion, I have a second. That's okay. That's okay. I heard some discussion. I want to make sure if anybody had any comments. So I have a motion, I have a second. And there was no more discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion passes 7-0. Next we have all right, next on the agenda is governance. And I just want to make a mention, we have board member reports coming up. I do want to make a mention about the assignment of our newest board member, Garrett Wilson has been assigned to the Finance Committee. So maybe we can start with that committee. Carlin and Garrett are both on that committee.
Sure, thank you, Madam President. So we met this past Wednesday afternoon for a couple of hours. Welcomed Garrett to the committee. Excited to have him on board. Most of the items that we discussed, or actually all of the items we've discussed, are somewhere within the agenda today. We talked about our first report ratings, the preliminary report coming out, where we will again be rated an A for superior achievement in the financial integrity rating system. We've approved purchasing items that were in the consent agenda. Chapter 49, which used to be Chapter 41 recapture, we're thinking we were going to be borderline, but it sounds like student population is going to take us out of that. Later on in the agenda, we're going to talk about defeasance of the 2015 bonds. We discussed our quarterly investment report that was in the consent agenda, and then preliminary discussion with the CFO, Wes, regarding our year-end June 30, 2021, and then our month-end July 31st, 2021 financial reports. And then in your reports online, you saw a history of our 6-year comparison of the certified tax values.
Very good.
So, Garrett, anything to add?
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Tidwell, do you have anything for the Technology Committee?
Microphone, I'll talk about technology.
Santi's teasing.
Yeah, absolutely. We met on 19 July. There was a report in the packet, but I'll pull out a few things. The first is, and Patty, please correct anything that I get wrong here. The first is that we received reimbursements from TEA Operation Connectivity for about $500,000. Good. So that's a very nice offset. As well as, since Patty got here, has been working very hard to improve our connectivity at our campuses. Our district bandwidth went up from 4 gig to 5 gig this year, and we raised Champion from 2 to 3. So that continues to rise every year, as well as looking at our network, same as last year, getting recommendations on improvement. More by now, but at least halfway through previously. And then we'll establish a long-range technology committee to see what our kind of needs are going forward. I think the biggest thing that some folks were interested in that meeting was we had a call with Skyward regarding our GPA. So as I'm sure no one has forgotten, we made promises pretty much a couple times last year to get GPA, particularly for juniors, rising juniors, out to our families, and we didn't get it done. And we didn't get it done on time from Skyward. So we had a conversation with them about that and doing the things they say they're going to do. They came back and gave us about a 10% Patty offset on that work and a commitment to do better going forward. So I hope we see that. As we know, these data systems are incredibly painful to adopt. We've been doing it for the last 2 years. I hope they will hold themselves to everything they told us when they stood in front here and on how amazing they were. So, but I think it's a good sign that they at least gave us some relief on the GPA.
When do you think the next GPA will be out based on what they've promised?
That's done. In fact, GPA's out and ranks for the kids that get it were already out. Patty is not jumping to tell me to be quiet, so
No, that's correct. The GPA is published and available to students.
Good. Okay, since we're on this side, the 504 Special Education Advisory Committee, Carlin, Jessica, anything? Okay. Okay. Mr. Senna and Jessica Davila Burnett, how about the Legislative Committee?
This thing, here it is. Okay, great. Legislative update is real brief. After the regular session ended, Memorial Day, the first session started in early July, went through August 6th. Didn't accomplish much because they didn't have a quorum for almost the entire session. A couple of bills related to education died in the regular session for a lack of quorum at the end. One was the 13th check, they call it the 13th month check to retired school teachers who do not get a cost of living adjustment each year, but every once in a while the legislature, when it has the money, generates what's called a 13th month check. There was not projected to be that kind of money to facilitate that at the beginning of the session, but now there is as the economy's improved. So that bill awaits approval from the legislature if and when they get a quorum. The other thing that died in the general session was virtual funding, where you would be paid for the attendance in virtual learning, and that died in the regular session when the quorum was lost. We did receive money, as every other district did, through some of the COVID bills that passed Congress. But, and some folks in the community have asked, well, Austin is doing virtual, and they're dedicating, I think, $40 million to it. Well, Austin is 7 times our size, but they got 42 times the money that we got. So our district chose to hire additional teachers, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Price, to keep class sizes down, particularly at the elementary level, so that our kids could catch up from the learning deficit from last year. That was the approach that we used. So that's the second thing related to education. Lastly, the census data was released the other day, so that should shadow a very interesting special session in the fall, probably October, regarding redistricting the state Senate and the Texas House of Representatives, which will determine districts for the next 10 years. So that's it for the legislative update.
Anything to add to that? Okay, very good, very good. Okay, Maritza Gonzalez Cooper, what do you have to say about Bernie Education Foundation? Thank you very much. All right, Dr. Tidwell, how about instructional programs? Anything going on with that committee just yet? All right. Thank you, board. All right, so next topic. Oh, well, okay. So, and we have subcommittees that are not necessarily, do we have anything for communications or transportation, Jessica? Thank you. And Rich, anything on the transportation committee? He's going to.
Committee. Yeah, okay. We have a meeting tomorrow for the Kendall County Bernie Fair Oaks Ranch Transportation Committee. The subcommittee, which John Ramirez and Henry Acosta are on, along with myself, made a series of recommendations for multimodal purposes, not just enhancements to existing roads, but also improved walking under safe schools environment, different ways to get to school, to facilitate walking and bicycling. So a variety of recommendations that will be presented to the large group, and then that group is going to have to dig in and cover some more of the global issues regarding countywide mobility. But that's the latest, and the goal is to have a full report out by the end of the year. So we've got about 4 months left to go to finish that task.
Very good, thank you. And then you made mention of facilities, but I knew that Mr. Acosta was going to handle that. So, okay, next on our agenda is the selection of the TASB board delegate and alternate delegate. Now, Tommy, we're going to have we don't know. So if we have, so far, we are going to go to our TASB convention, and we need to have a delegate and a alternate delegate. Anybody would like to volunteer can let me know.
I nominate Jessica.
And I second that nomination.
Okay. All right, Jessica, and if for some reason you can't, I'll be the alternate. How about that? Accept. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Let's see.
We have to vote on that?
No.
No.
Let's see. All right, so we do have an action item coming up, the board operating procedures, and I want to, so on June 14th, the board had a workshop, and our focus was on governance. Part of that is we took a close look at our board operating procedures, and we had some revisions made to that. We had a subcommittee that looked really closely at that. That was Carlin Fryer, Rich Senna, and Ms. Davila Burnett. And so today there are the operating procedures, and I would like to know if there's a motion for approval of these procedures. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion passes 7-0, and there will be the documents in your folder to please sign at the end of our meeting. All right, so the next thing is our Code of Ethics. And first I'd like to ask if we have a motion to approve our board Code of Ethics. I have a motion and I have a second. What I would like to do, first of all, any further discussion? So hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion passes 7-0. And if you wouldn't mind, in your packet, you have the Code of Ethics, and I would like to have each of us read a section of it. I'll start with the first line. It says, as a member of the board, I shall promote the best interest of the district as a whole, and to that end shall adhere to the following ethical standards. Dr. Tidwell, if you would, I'm going to go ahead and
equity in attitude. I will be fair, just, and impartial in all my decisions and actions. I will accord others the respect I wish for myself. I will encourage expressions of different opinions and listen with an open mind to others' ideas.
Trustworthiness and stewardship. I will be accountable to the public by representing district policies, programs, priorities, and progress accurately. I will be responsible to the community by seeking its involvement in district affairs and by communicating its priorities and concerns. I will work to ensure prudent and accountable use of district resources. I will make no personal promise or take private action that may compromise my performance of my responsibilities.
All right, my section is honor and conduct. I will tell the truth. I will share my views while working for consensus. I will respect the majority decision as the decision of the board, and I will base my decisions on fact rather than supposition, opinion, or public favor.
My section is integrity of character. I will refuse to surrender judgment to any individual or group at the expense of the district as a whole. I will consistently uphold all applicable laws, rules, policies, and governance procedures. And I will keep confidential information that is privileged by law or that will needlessly harm the district if disclosed.
Commitment to service. I will focus my attention on fulfilling the board's responsibility of goal setting, policy making, and evaluation. I will diligently prepare for and attend board meetings. I will avoid personal involvement in activities the board has delegated to the superintendent. I will seek continuing education that will enhance my ability to fulfill my duties effectively.
Student-centered focus. I will be continuously guided by what is best for all students of the district.
Thank you very much, Board, for all of your signing of these code of ethics, and I know that we all hold these true, and we want the audience to know that as well. And so next, we have report section. Dr. Price, do you have an update for us?
I want to echo what you've said to the principals. You've done a super job of opening a school year for which, once again, we weren't quite sure what would hold. We have, as of today, 10,206 students. We celebrated last week hitting the 10,000 mark, and it is a celebration for several reasons. First of all, we are no longer in recapture, and that is a big thing considering this district has paid over $100 million to the state. That's our money that we collected here from our taxpayers, and we're not doing that at this point. The second is the acknowledgement of growth. We have a long-range steering committee that we are starting up, and we have to acknowledge that and to plan for it, and the only way we can acknowledge it is to embrace it, and we did this week. And in fact, today I went out and I surprised the young lady at Fair Oaks who was our 10,000th student, and that will be out tomorrow, and it was a good celebration for us. We also, of that 10,206, we have 55 pending at this point, so we think this will grow. And remember, if history repeats itself, we always grow from this point through at least October. So we think that number is going to go up. Our goal to reach by October was 10,137. So we've already surpassed that goal. And if you look at just the numbers and the growth in this past year, from this time, the fourth day of school of last year, we've grown 722 students. Quite remarkable, especially when you consider that we have about 529 students who have withdrawn from our school district because they've moved as of May. So in reality, we are growing about 1,000 students in this, and in part, and that's important to remember because we always talk about we want this to continue to keep the small town feel. And you can't keep that small town feel unless you go for it and you make that part of what you do every single day, especially when you consider adding 9,000 students, 900 students as we go through this. The things I would like to warn y'all about, and this is an every year thing, especially with a fast growth thing, buses, class size, and traffic. And what I'd like for you to do, please do this. If someone comes to you with a concern about buses, class size, traffic, please send them to the person whose duty is to correct that. The buses, that's going to be John Ramirez. If it's class sizes, that's the principal. And the traffic, text dot. I can't figure that out. But every year what we do is we go through and we have to adjust. We don't know for the first 2 weeks how many students are going to be on the buses, how many, right now we have all the parents dropping everyone off. And what people are going to understand soon is that's going to get old very quickly. They're going to put their students on the bus, and we're going to have to adjust bus routes as we go through. Class size. Like I said, we had 529 students withdraw. So our class sizes were built a lot of times with those students included. We didn't know who was going to show, who wasn't until actually school started. So when a lot of parents would see first day numbers of their classes, the numbers are going to be big, and we knew they were going to be big, but they are dropping off. We're taking the classes and we are resizing them, moving students around, and we may start having to move some teachers around. And that's part, again, what we do every single year. It can't be done. Remember, if you're in secondary, we've only met 2 times, 2 classes, because it's the 4th day. It takes us a little bit of time to do this, especially, remember, when we did the budget process, after last year, when 20% of our students were not on campuses and they were virtual, we had to make some adjustments. If we had not overhired last year, we could not have served those virtual students. So this year we didn't have that luxury. We have it. It was very tight, we knew, and we also knew going into this, if we had more growth than expected, we would add. But reality right now, we are only about 100 students over what we budgeted. So we should have the teachers out there. Are they in the right place right now? Maybe not. So we may have to move some teachers around to adjust. Traffic, every year at the beginning of the school, even if you didn't have the text dot problems that we have, you would have traffic problems. They usually taper off after the first couple of weeks. And again, I watched North, and I had parents lined up to pick up students at 2:45 for 4 o'clock. That's dedication in the heat. So they're lining up to pick them up, and I'm hoping that they trust us and put some of the students on the buses. COVID, let me give you a quick COVID update, really not quick, because I want to go back to spring of 2020 when this all started. Now my favorite story, I was on a cruise ship 1 minute, and then we were closing up schools for the rest of the semester. And we could not really educate our students. We did the best we could in a very distance learning situation, but we went through that, and we managed to have graduations the best we could last year. And then at this time last year, we were preparing to open. We did not know what we were going to face, and at the last minute, Bexar County Health Authority closed all schools in Bexar County. Well, we have 2 campuses in Bexar County. Kind of very similar situation that we're in this year. What we felt like is we felt the best way to handle this was for us to open school. We worked with the governor's office. We worked with the attorney general's office. And in it, what the attorney general came down with is that the health authority overextended and made a closure as a preemptive attempt. And what the attorney general said, that's beyond their authority to do. We can't preemptively shut something down. The other argument we had was that we are housed in Kendall County. even though we may have branches outside, which many school districts in the area had the same argument. We opened on time. We opened with everyone wearing masks for the whole year. We had state championships. You saw a few of them a few minutes ago. We had children do remarkable things last year and overcome things. We had our teachers teaching like they've never had to teach before. Our secondary teachers were teaching both ways in their classroom, virtually and in front of students, and it was tough. We get to spring, and right after spring break, the governor announced that masks were no longer mandated throughout the state, but what people did not hear is that they were in schools, and TEA told us we had to keep it in schools. We kept with that for the rest of the year, even though we had some people who told us we shouldn't. At the end of the school year, in June, the governor announced that could no longer have masks in school. We abided by that, and in June you adopted the student handbook, and that student handbook said that masks were going to be optional this year. Which leads us to right about when we're starting school. We're getting ready, and Bexar County went to court, and once again we're in the same situation. This time Bexar County is going against the governor, and they wanted to put masks on everyone in schools. We decided, for the same reason as last year, to continue what you had decided in June, that local control, because that's what Bexar County was arguing, was local control of the government. They felt like they needed it, and we felt like we did too. Plus, we are housed in Kendall County, and we are following what Kendall County does. Then Sunday comes, and the Supreme Court puts a stay on Bexar County's motion. And then today, Bexar County's judge upheld their mask mandate. I can tell you from talking to many of the superintendents around Bexar County that they will not be following it. And I can also tell you that many in Bexar County are not going to be following it. And we're waiting. At this point in time, the thought is that this will go to the Supreme Court sometime again this week, and they will uphold the governor. It's been a yo-yo, and it's unfair to our students and unfair to our staff. As I've visited campuses, and I've visited all the campuses multiple times at this point, we have about 95% of our staff and students who have chosen not to wear a mask. And what we have to remember is we are doubling down on our protocols, and we're meeting with our principals. We are continuing to sanitize. We are continuing to encourage washing hands, social distance as best we possibly can in a fast growth situation. And we all have plexiglass, the plexiglass barriers that we had at our campuses that campuses are free to use. So we're doing the best we can in a no-win situation in a pandemic, and we're learning as we go. If we as a board, y'all decide that we need to do something different, and this is ignoring the governor or ignoring Bexar County, because you adopted in the handbook, this is what we're going to do, you would have to come back and change that mandate. But at this point in time, I can tell you, we've gotten a lot of emails that say we need to follow Bexar County's lead, but I've gotten twice as many that say we shouldn't. Texas Supreme Court, yes. Texas, all this is staying inside Texas. If the federal gets involved in this, it's a whole new branch of entertainment as we go through. So, again, and also I heard today about virtual education, and one of the things we learned last year, virtual did not work very well for most of our students, but we cannot give virtual and get funded, and we do not have the money to do it without being funded. And I don't want anyone to think, well, you know, all we care about is the money, but the only way you can run a district with 10,000 students and 1,600 employees is money. It's very simple, and we can't afford. Last year when we ran virtual education, we had 40 extra positions, and we created our own school, and we could not afford to do that again this year. What we are allowed to do is something TEA calls remote conferencing, because they don't want it to get mixed up with virtual. Remote conferencing will allow us to service children who are quarantined positive for COVID, or really anything else. If you break your leg and you're out for a week, we can service you. Very difficult still, because it's 4 hours of virtual computer instruction per day. We're trying to make an effort to do this. That number of days is maxed out at 20. The state will not allow us to go beyond 20. Most of these, because quarantines are 7 to 14 days, will be about 7 to 14 days. But it's harder than it sounds, because you are trying to service a lot of different students with a lot of different needs. The difference this year than last year, we were teaching virtual and trying to grow and educate. This is more going to be, let's keep them afloat till they can come back to school. And that's all we can do at this point. We don't want them to fall behind in that time, and we want to maximize that time to be able to keep them from falling behind. So it's going to be a challenge, but Larissa and her group, along with Elaine, are working on trying to find a group of substitutes, long-term substitutes that are targeted towards the students who are going out. And but it's been difficult, because what we really need are certified certified teacher substitutes, which we also are going to be hiring teachers, because we have a need of teachers. So it's hard finding them out. What we are looking at doing is, we did the District of Innovation 4 years ago, and in it we believe we adopted a clause that will allow us to use some different substitutes. So we're looking at that. And really, the only other thing I want to share is some good things do come from COVID. Last year, we were able to televise our home games for football, which allowed some flexibility. This year, UIL is going to do the same thing. They were worried about all along if it would hurt attendance. Well, it didn't hurt attendance last year. We are going to be able to televise all of our home games, and we also have a contract where we'll be able to see our away games. That's important as we go through all of this. So it's going to be a challenging year, but a fun year as we go through. And it's really been, it's hard to say, but these 4 days have been challenging, but it's been one of the best openings we've had. When you walk through the halls, our teachers are happy, our students are happy, especially when you compare to what we were going through at this time last year and some of the fears. The fear is still there, but it's more understandable on both parts, and we feel like at this point in time we have the direction from you, and we are just trying to make it as safe as possible, but the learning environment is as welcoming as possible also. So it's again, good year. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, next on our agenda is instruction. Ms. Flores, you have some information regarding STAR?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Price. In June, I presented our district's preliminary STAR data, but tonight I will now share our results compared to Region 20 percentages and our state averages. I'll also be sharing our data for our 3 targeted student groups that we always keep an eye on, which are our economically disadvantaged, our English learners, and our special education students. Of course, everything that we'll be discussing tonight ties directly into our district scorecard under our goals under student success, with increasing the percentage of students at the meets and master's grade level. And as just a reminder, STAR has 3 levels of passing performance. An example here is 3rd grade math. As you can see, approaches grade level is at 53% accurate, meets grade level is 75%, and master's is 88%. This is just an example just to show that each grade level and each subject has different percentages for each different of the passing performance. All of our student goals are set at the meets percentage for each grade and each test, and that averages around, since they're all different, it averages around 60%. I'm going to begin with grades 3 through 5 reading. So what we have here is an aggregate of English and Spanish tests averaged across all campuses for each grade level. The blue bar is, of course, the purple bar is our BISD averages. The blue is our Region 20, and the red bar is our state percentage. The second slide shows our demographics for these 3 target groups: our economically disadvantaged, our English learners, and our special education students for each grade level, and how they performed at the meets level. Now, grades 3 through 5 mathematics. Again, so you can see, actually we did very well in grade 5 math compared to the region and the state. We are above state and region percentages for all tests, but I'd like to point out that in 5th grade math, 31% above the region and 26% above the state. Again, showing our 3 targeted demographics for each grade level in math. Grade 4 writing and grade 5 science. Grade 4 writing is no longer part of the STAR test. It's a standalone test that will now be integrated with the reading test. So this is the last year we'll have standalone writing results. But again, the blue bar is BISD, region, and state. And again, we surpassed both in both subject areas. Again, our demographics for each test. Also for grades 6 through 8 reading. In particular, in 7th and 8th grade reading, BISD was 23% and 22% above the region and 20 and 19% above the state. Same graph for our special populations. Now that 0% is again at the meets level. We did have students at the approaches, which meant they passed the test, but we just did not have that demographic at the meets level, so that's the reason for the 0. Same information for 6 through 8 mathematics. Again, we did very well compared to region and state. Our demographics. Again, we had students in 6th grade at the approaches grade level, just not in that demographic at the meets.
For EL, what would be the state comparison for the same demographic?
I would have to look that up, sir. I don't have it readily available, but I can get that for you.
The prior ones, as far as the meets, if you go back to the approaches, we still would outdistance the state and the region as far as approaches. In fact, we do better on approaches than we do on meets.
Yes, that's correct.
You know, that's a good question that you asked, Joe, because I was noticing in math at both the 5th grade and the 8th grade levels, our ECO-DIS and English language learner population in both cases outscored the region in total or the state in total.
Mm-hmm.
So in those 2 sub-pops, we beat the region and the state. I thought that was pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Reading, not so much, but yeah.
Okay. Our percentage for 6 through 8 math for BISD, region, and state. I'm sorry, going. And here's the population there, subpopulations there. Grade 7 writing also is a standalone writing test that will no longer be offered. It will be integrated into the reading test this coming year, and also grade 8 science and social studies for each test there, and then also our demographic information for each of those exams. Our end of course exams, these are the 5 end of course that our high school students take: algebra, biology, English 1, English 2, and U.S. history, as compared to our Region 20 and state percentages. Again, we outscored the region and the state in those tests. This was the May administration. So the demographics for Algebra 1 are noted here. For English 1, English 2, biology, and U.S. history. So those students that were not successful on the May administration, they must retest. So we did have a retest opportunity in June, and these are our results by test compared to the region and state averages for the retesters. Now this graph is at the approaches, because once they become retesters, our goal for them is to pass the test.
And these numbers are smaller because this is the retest, and usually on the regular test, our numbers go back are quite a bit.
For example, we only had 29 students test Algebra 1 in June.
What happens if they don't pass the retest?
They have to continue to retest until they do pass. It's a graduation requirement. And that is all I have. Any questions?
So the question I have is, did you look at this online versus in-person learners test results?
So I don't have that information for BISD, but statewide, their results came out. It had a negative impact. Mm-hmm. The remote learning, and no matter the household income level, there was a negative impact with remote learning statewide.
And even though we regressed, like the rest of the state did, but I think one of the remarkable things, to go back to the campuses and the curriculum department, we may have regressed, but we still outdid the surrounding, the region, and the state. And all the slides that Larissa showed you were at the higher level, meets and masters, and that's what we're really pushing for, is not the approach.
I've got a few questions. Do other districts in the state use the meets or approach as standard? I understand why we use the meets. It's a tougher standard. Do other districts do the same?
I don't know. I don't know. I know a lot of districts just look at the approaches, and because that's what they focus on, especially those larger districts with larger subpopulations that are of concern. But here in Boerne, we need to concentrate on the meets grade level.
No, I think that's good. I think that's good. Yeah, I mentioned earlier that in those math areas that our sub-pops exceeded the achievement level of districts statewide and region-wide, which I think is good. The EL students seem to do better at the elementary level than in the middle. Is that because there's a new crop of middle school students that are...
Well, remember, they're also able to test in Spanish at the elementary level.
Oh.
Okay, but not in middle school?
No, sir.
Okay.
The Spanish test ends at 5th grade.
Thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Stewart, do you have something to share with us? You're over here.
There it goes. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Price. We have first reading on Update 117. This is the small version. We will be getting a larger one in October, more than likely from TASB. It'll be Update 118 from the latter part of the legislative session. This particular policy focuses more than anything on DEC. Dr. Howard has reviewed that information in detail and is in agreement with that. We do have a few items in CH purchasing and then CV facilities construction within this Update 117. You will also notice on the next agenda item, we have an addendum to CV, an additional revision to that, a further revision to that. Mr. Acosta has requested that. I will defer to him if you have any questions, but that too is in front of you for first reading. We will move through to second reading and approval at next meeting.
Your reason for the revision?
Ma'am, as we get closer to our construction program, one of the things that's going to come forth to this board is how we're going to move forward with procuring our projects. And during that, it just so happens that this policy came up. We were looking at the revisions under change orders, right? So depending on the project and the delivery method, right, we're going to need some, I guess, some authority within for our staff to make recommendations on change orders under the $50,000 mark. Typically, we build enough allowances within the project, contingency allowances to withdraw from that. But still, with every change order, there will be a report coming to this board every month, right, on the changes that are made. Now, any change orders above the 50,000, those would come strictly to the board for approval.
So we'll see this again next time.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Acosta, you have information on a bond update for us?
Yes, ma'am. My bond, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Price, bond updates will mirror also the facilities, what we discussed, everything in the Facilities Committee. So it's going to reflect both. On July 29, 2021, the Facilities Subcommittee came together here at Bernie. The meeting focused on 4 topics. Attendees was Ms. Gonzalez-Cooper, Mr. Senna, Dr. Price, Coach Leach, myself, the team from Pfluger, and a team from LPA Architects. With that, we discussed the conceptual design of elementary number 8. Earlier during that week, prior to the facilities meeting, the C&I executive staff, Dr. Stewart, Ms. Flores, had reviewed, along with Dr. Price, the program requirements for elementary number 8. Herf Elementary was used as the prototype for this new elementary that we're looking at currently. And there were a couple of changes that were done to the program. One was the including the expanding of an early childhood program. We're going to add 1 more classroom to that early childhood program. So instead of 6, we'll have 7 classrooms. And then also was the relocating of the library. And it was one of the committee that they wanted to accommodate better student flow into the library. That it wasn't a point of destination, that kids were just going to actually flow into the library. So that was on number 8. Next steps on elementary number 8 is now the schematic phase. That's where we'll come back to the Facilities Committee, and we'll share floor plans, we'll share elevation plans, and then also some renderings of what the elementary will look like. The second item was the master development plan for Champion High School. That was a review of a proposed high school addition to Champion High School. That addition could host up to 400 students. It would sit outside. It could possibly host the PTEC. I don't want to drive and speak for the CNI, but it could host that. We're also including additional parking. It's got about 150 spots that could be accommodated by that addition. We also find we didn't found. What we discovered was there was a section of property in the rear behind the ranch that was about 16 acres that could also be developed, into some type of master plan development within that Champion High School, and that's up for discussion on those 16 acres. But that's another piece of property that's available to this district once we get into that. The third item was the facilities condition report for our stadium, our current stadium over at Bernie High School. A preliminary study was of the current conditions of Bernie High School Stadium was reviewed. Also included in the presentation was a review of various neighboring stadiums that we use for comparisons that could fit on the property that we had there. What we're looking for is now, next step is a more in-depth study of our next recommendations and just preparing us better for our next step as we start working with the bond steering committee. That's going to be a topic of conversation for that. And then the last thing is just an update on where we're at with the bond steering committee. Committee invites have been sent, and we continue to work with Mr. Piles and just provide resources to him on the needs and also the studies that we now have and the studies that we'll need to have once we get closer to bond.
Welcome, Mr. Piles. I see you over there. Thank you very much. Any questions, Board? Okay, so Henry, you're going to talk to us, give us a food service update?
Yes, ma'am. Next item is for informational purposes. The United States Department of Agriculture had issued a guidance that allowed all schools to offer meals to all students at no cost. No cost, I'm going to repeat that, to the district for the 21-22 year. So we have started that program. It's taken off. We're well underway. I think I'm going to be working the line here next week if I don't hire some more folks. But as we, daily, every day, I'm talking to Javier and his staff and everything. We're seeing more and more participation, especially at the high school. So this is an excellent program. One of the biggest things that it's going to do for this district is it's going to put money back in our surplus. It's one of the programs or one of the bonds that y'all approve. So I'm looking forward to that. We're looking for a good year this year in food service.
You have any idea what it looks like for next year regarding that bond?
They haven't come out and said anything. What we're hoping to do, our concentrations are now not, when we first took off this year without this program, right, our main effort was participation, right? With now this free lunch and everybody coming to the table, now that has not taken our priority anymore. Now we can concentrate our efforts on our customer service, the quality of the food, presentation. That way, when we do come next year, we're in a better position to, whatever they offer, we're going to be better prepared.
And the kids will be used to eating this wonderful food, and
Yes,
we'll get
ma'am.
them. Yeah, that worked out just well. The timing sounds ideal. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Well, and I know you said it already once, but it should be like as clear as possible. The breakfast and lunches are being paid for by federal programs, not local tax dollars.
Yes, sir. Federal program.
All of it.
All of it.
Just wanted to have it as
One more time.
out there and
Yes.
clear as possible.
If we did not take the grant, somebody else would have gotten it. It's good for our students, and as Henry said, we will end up making money off of this. The way it works is they give us so much per meal, and SFE works at making sure that we stay below that cost, and anything that's in between goes towards operations, so it does not cost us. And coming from high poverty school districts that have high free and reduced lunch, you make money off of it, and it should help our surplus.
Now, Henry, you mentioned, the focus on presentation and customer service, because I would think, consumption is way up because it's free. Are there any plans to do any kind of surveying or what have you as we look forward to next year? Because I guess the assumption or the hope would be that patronage at our cafeterias would increase next year above what it was in the past. So is there any way we could gauge that in advance?
Yes, sir, Mr. Sena. One of the things that we're working with right now is with Dr. Howard. She's putting out a survey to all our principals and to the staff in October. I think we were going to let staff and students get kind of acclimated to the new school year, but we've got that survey in the works, and it's coming out in October.
Good.
That's also one of the main focuses of the student advisory this year. We're recreating the student advisory where we can offer it to more participation from different students, and part of that goal is to go out and for those students to talk to their fellow students and give us input.
Great idea.
I just want to give kudos to Henry for leading us through the bond discussions and through this food service. So thank you so much. We appreciate all your hard work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And you now have the architectural and engineering service report.
Yes, ma'am. Last item, and again for informational purposes, as we continue to survey our existing conditions on the various campuses within the district and the possibilities of new growth, and are there new growth coming, professional design consultants are required for future studies and possible design in order to progress with future recommendations for the program, whatever program that comes, and when and if the bond comes. I think now, and what I wanted to do was put out this RFQ. We used two of the firms that we had used in the past, and we were kind of hesitant to see where we were going to go. But I think we're at a good time right now, and I think the sooner the better. We've got some competition going on with some area school districts as far as bonds, so we want to grab the best consultants we can and have them within our pool. That doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be coming to this board with that pool and who's on that list for y'all's review and approval.
Okay, next up, Dr. Stewart, Administrative Services, the optional flexible day, school day program. And
Yes, ma'am, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Price. Each year we come to you with the request to apply for the optional flexible school day program with TEA. It does require a public hearing. Mr. Bell has put together our plan again this year to begin in late September, 28 students per teacher. If for any students who are interested, this is for kids who are at risk of dropping out. They are students that might need a more flexible school day. It's outside the typical hours of our traditional school day. And Mr. Bell is here if you have any detailed questions that you would like to ask about it. Otherwise, we can, at any point you're ready, we can move into the public hearing and request comment and then move on.
board,
Make a
any
motion.
questions of Mr. Bell? Okay, then at 8:07, I'll go ahead and open the floor for public hearing. Are there any comments from our audience? Okay, hearing none, I will close the floor and ask if there is a motion regarding our optional flexible school day program.
Yes, Madam President, I move that the Bernie ISD Board of Trustees approve the BISD submittal of the application for acceptance into the optional flexible school day program for the 2021-22 school year.
Second?
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion?
Just that I think it's great, and this helps us get our graduation rate above 99%, which is awesome.
I see a thumbs up back there. All right. Any other comments? All right. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. So next, Mr. Scott, come on up. Unless you prefer to sit there, I guess everybody else sat there. You can sit.
Everybody else got to.
I know. I knew you were going to say that. Okay. You have some information to share with us this evening?
I even have a couple of action items for you.
Yes.
You have before you a redemption resolution for the 2015 refunding bond issue in the district's debt portfolio. We have one opportunity for redemption this year, and that is the 2015 refunding. We have the unique opportunity this year to do a 100% defeasance rather than go back into the market. That even though they aren't big numbers in terms of interest savings, we're going to pay off $3 million in principal and save about $260,000 in interest. It is rare that you get to say I have a 100% interest savings on a transaction. That to my understanding today has very little fees associated with it. So with that, I will leave it to the board to decide what we're going to do with redemptions this year.
Okay. Well, any questions?
Wes, I did have a question. I know we covered this in the Finance Committee meeting. This is the only defeasance opportunity we have for 2021 and 2022, is that right?
In 21-22, the 2015 refunding are the only bonds that are callable. Yes, sir.
But 22-23, there may be other opportunities.
The 2014 refundings will be callable in that year. That's the only, we always have opportunities for advanced refundings, but these are the only ones that are callable.
I think it's worth mentioning that, okay, we're only saving $260,000 in interest, but we are paying off $3 million early. And that that series was originally designed to expire in 2027. Mm-hmm. So for the years from 23 to 27, the range of savings is from $595,000 to $718,000 that we will not have to pay, giving us wiggle room for any future bond. And the same would pertain next year if we have additional defeasance opportunities next year. The 14 series goes through 2036, so that would be an exciting opportunity.
Yes.
Capacity for future bonds.
And on that note, if I move the Board of Trustees adopt an order authorizing the redemption of any outstanding maturities of Bernie Independent School District Unlimited Tax Refunding Bond Series 2015 pursuant to a delegated defeasance.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion passes 7-0. Hey, Mr. Scott?
All right, you have before you the unaudited results of operations for the month ended June 30th, 2021. I would point out a couple of things from that report on the second page of that report that shows the results of the general fund. You'll see that the unaudited results of operations is a increase to fund balance of $450,000. That is substantially different from the budgeted decrease to fund balance of $2.9 million. The primary factor in that was recapture. We budgeted about $1.7 million just due to the uncertainty associated with hold harmless and its effect on recapture. I have accrued at this point in time $377,000 that we will pay to the TEA sometime during the fall. We have not paid recapture related to 2021 and haven't been requested to do so yet. And even today, there's a lot of debate within Texas school business officials on how the TEA is going to do that. But this is due to the discussions that I've had with the director of funding at TA, I believe this is an accurate estimate, and it is substantially lower, which I'm thankful for. The only other item that I would point out out of this report would be related to tax collections, and just to note that our towards the back of your report, and note that that collections of this year's levy was at 98.49%. No, 98.67%, which is slightly better than the year before at 98.49%. And with that, I will open it up to the board for questions related to the unaudited results for the year ending June 30, 2021.
Rich has probably already figured this out in his head, but with the increase to fund balance in terms of months, do you just off the top of your head know how far that gives us? Just because we were thinking we were going down a little bit, that should be about 3 at this point, 2 3/4.
In terms of months,
2.8.
Rich already had it, 2.8.
2.8.
Well, I calculated it, you know.
Good. You have questions, Rich? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam President, I move to approve the budget amendments, donation report, and tax collection reports for June 30th, 2021 as presented.
I have a motion and a second. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. All right, so our next agenda item, unfinished, let's see. Oh, I'm so sorry. We have one more.
we have one more. I'm sorry.
One more.
We had 2 items on that action item. You also have in front of you the unaudited results of operations for the first month of the new fiscal year ending July 31st. If I said June 31st last time we were talking, I apologize. Did I say that? Oh, okay, good deal. What I'll say about this report, we're 8% through the year. July is one of the slower months of our fiscal year. The results of operations were within expectations and within budgetary constraints. I don't have much to say about the results of operations. The most significant item in here is the budget amendment to the debt service fund, which is a result of the defeasance resolution that you just passed. And that would add the $3 million to the debt service fund to pay off the 2015 refunding. Just on a side note, related to the 2014 refunding, we're going to continue to examine all of our options on what's best for the district going into the 22-23 year. I will probably bring that defeasance resolution a little bit earlier next year so that fits in with our budgetary discussion. So we discussed it in, budgetarily, we've been discussing the defeasance of the 2015s for a while, but it would be nice to just go ahead and put those numbers in there. That doesn't commit the district to doing it, just gives us the option to do it, right? Which we want to give ourselves good options. And so that's just a side note. So, but with that, if the board has any questions related to the results of operations for July, the budget amendment, the donations report, or the tax collections report, I will do my best to answer.
Yeah, just one question and one comment. On the potential defeasance of the 14 series, would we have to defease the entire amount?
Nope.
You could do partial?
Yep.
Okay, great. The next point was just, of all the uncollected taxes from last year, which was 1.3%, we collected over a third of that in July, which was pretty cool, I thought.
Yes.
That people are catching up on their taxes.
Yes, those stayed pretty much in line with prior year's collections, those amounts, but it is good that they do it. Yeah, and I think you'll more commonly see as we come forward partial defeasements of the refundings. We'll look to defease those outlying years that have the higher interest rates. It's rare that we're going to be able to do a 100% defeasement, and these 2 years are especially rare.
Yes.
Approve the budget amendments, donation report, and tax collection report as presented.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Scott. So future business items, our next board meeting will be held September 21st. We'll hear information regarding PSAT and AP academics report, GT advanced academics report, annual investment policy review, and we'll have a public hearing on the tax rate and consider approval of the tax rate. Do I have a motion to adjourn? I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion passes 7-0. Time is 8:19. Have a nice evening, everyone.